Hello everyone, my name is Mark and I'm from Team Building with Byte. And I wanted to round off the week with Storytelling with Puck with another story, but I actually got some writer's block. So instead, I'm hoping to share with you more of a dream, but hopefully a dream about how we can create more stories in the future. So Stefano can decide if it's worthy of the hashtag or not. But my dream revolves around Team Building with Bytes, our company that we established about 6 years ago now. And the initial dream was to help improve animal welfare in the places that we work with, and I think that's going really well and really nicely. But this dream is more specific about having a much wider impact because a few years ago now, we were approached by a list of life events because Heath had a corporate client that was interested in our team building, but they wanted to do something that had a wider cause attached to it. So he asked if we could basically create a team build that had a fundraising outcome attached to it as well. And this was an idea I got really, really excited about. So I went away and did some research and I came up with 3 potential projects that would link with animals that we could work with in the UK that would have a connection then to a much wider fundraising goal. And 2 of the projects were kind of quite sort of small, 5,000, 12,000 kind of style of thing. But one of them was actually a potentially huge one. It was done in stages, but potentially it could have been up to £60,000 if they decided to fundraise for the whole project, essentially completing a complex of enclosures for rescued ex-pet macaque monkeys that have been taken from the pet trade in the UK to Lakeview Monkey Sanctuary. And when I was writing the proposal, I was like, there's no way they're possibly going to consider, trying to fundraise £60,000. That's absolutely insane. But I put it forward anyway because it was there were several stages to the project that they could look to fundraise instead. And in fact, they were actually interested in it. And one of the reasons they were interested in it was that because they were such a large company, to actually fundraise that amount would have only required each of their employees to raise £20 each, which when you break it down like that is very achievable and just completely mind-blowing in terms of the amazing good that could be done from such a simple thing. Unfortunately, they didn't go with us as the team building provider in the end, which we were a little bit gutted about, but it is an idea that I've held on to ever since, and it's something that I really do genuinely dream we can make a reality, because my aim is to do as much good as possible for animal welfare, and this I think is an enormous way that we could contribute to that. So for those of you that know me, for example, I do a lot of work with the Shape of Enrichment. It's an international NGO. It does a lot of work in developing countries in particular, basically capacity building, animal welfare and enrichment training for keepers and care staff. So an easy thing for us to do, for example, would be to work with a species that comes from, say, Southeast Asia in one of the collections that we work with, and have the team build something for one of these species, like a sun bear, for example, and then the groups get excited about that, invested in that species, and then go away and fundraise to basically send some instructors to that area of the world to do training for keepers or care staff in rescue centres and sanctuaries, and even potentially some in kind of reintroduction centres, to hopefully impact massively on hundreds, if not thousands, of species in that sort of human care at that time. And I think that's amazing on its own. But it might not be something that some companies are interested in. They might want to do something more directly applicable to conservation. So we have friends and colleagues in charities like the Amboseli Trust for Elephants or the Elephants and Bees Project, which have given us a whole list of ideas of potential projects we could do. So if we had a corporate group wanting to work with captive elephants in the UK, they could then go away and through the Elephants and Bees Project, for example, fundraise for radio tracking collars and equipment for crop raiding elephants, for human conflict elephants. So animals that are potentially putting themselves in danger and putting human populations that they live around in danger. And this radio tracking gear would essentially allow researchers to follow their movements, find out where they're going, find out what pathways they're using, and then create mitigating kind of solutions like wildlife tunnels, for example, that would allow them to move safely and securely through an area without causing issues. Or we could look more at a sort of human aspect to it. So through the Amboseli Trust for Elephants, we could look at funding the creation of boreholes for safe, clean drinking water, which would obviously have a massive impact on that community. But also as a byproduct, it would stop the creation of small hand-dug holes that are only temporary and are actually massive death traps for baby elephants. So again, benefiting both species. Or we could look at things like microfinancing, or even actually through Elephants and Bees Project, funding PhDs or masters for local Kenyans who want to be conservationists of the future. And this actually could be focused particularly on empowering young Kenyan women who want to become conservation heroes to look after these species. And I think that, again, is such an exciting prospect to be able to have an impact on. Or if companies wanted to look sort of closer to home, again, we could look at Lakeview Monkey Sanctuary or places like it, where we want to create forever homes for primates that have been rescued from the pet trade, for some of these animals that could live easily beyond their 30s, to make sure that they have somewhere safe and secure, either by building enclosures or actually funding something like an education centre, which would actually create a long-term funding stream and a sustainable future for somewhere like Lakeview, which isn't open to the public. Basically then safeguarding the future of the primates that they look after, which again I think is really, really exciting. So that's my dream. Thank you for sharing it with me and for listening and for joining me with Storytelling with Puck. Next year maybe I'll share some of my more long-term dreams with you as well, but for the moment, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.